Lamborghini's super SUV, the Urus, is undergoing its biggest change in the model's history. Now, okay, the history isn't that long, but still, this change is very significant because the new Urus SE is a fully plug-in hybrid SUV. Now, don't get the wrong idea, this isn't about going green for the Urus, although mine is painted green. But yeah, this isn't about efficiency, this is about performance. And the hybrid system not only delivers more power, it also gives drivers a little more flexibility and can even operate on all-electric power. Now, I'm not gonna go over the Urus's crazy capabilities, as that's been covered for many years. What I am gonna focus on in this review is what the SE brings to the table and the differences between this model and Lamborghini's previous version of the Urus. So let's start with the biggest and most obvious change with the Urus SE, and that is the drivetrain and what's under the hood. So actually under the hood is still a 4-liter turbocharged V8 engine, but in this vehicle it makes 620 horsepower. That's actually less than the Urus S, which made 657 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque. But, and this is a big but, there's an electric motor, a 192 horsepower electric motor that is paired up to that gas engine. Combined, it makes 789 horsepower and 701 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot of power. And those that are in the know are aware of the fact that this is a distant cousin of the Porsche Cayenne Turbo e-Hybrid, and it does make more power here than in that Porsche, so the Urus can say it's the king of the mountain, I guess. Of course, power is still sent to all 4 wheels through an actual all-wheel drive system. This isn't one of those electric motors up front, gas engine powering the rear, so that's nice. And although this is far from the actual point of the hybrid drivetrain, fuel economy actually is up. It's normally 16 miles per gallon combined in the Urus S, and in the SC it's 20. Now, that all depends on how much of the electric motor you are or aren't using, and I say that because this is a plug-in hybrid. And Lamborghini states that it'll go about 60 kilometers on a charge. Now, I haven't really got to test that because, well, let me get into why. So, like I said, the electric motor makes almost 200 horsepower, which is quite a bit. And around town, and even in sort of country roads, there's more than enough there, and it accelerates with pretty good haste. But it's not the smoothest. Sometimes it's like power then no power. It's almost like the vehicle and the transmission aren't really sure if it should just send electric power or how much. But when you get to the highway, the power delivery both smoothens out, but it also starts to become strained. There's a little gauge in here that shows you how much electricity you're using off the electric motor, what the engine RPM is at, and when you're off the accelerator, how much regen braking you're getting. So if you're using that sort of electric meter, you're trying to keep it from the red line, because that's when the gas engine will kick in. And on the highway, you have to be so light with the throttle. It will go up to 80 miles an hour or 130 kilometers an hour on all electric power. But again, you have to have patience if you're going to get there. And this is a nearly 800 horsepower super SUV with the name Lamborghini. You're not going to drive it that way, so the gas engine is going to kick in. This extra power and ability to drive on just electricity and improve fuel economy, well, it does come at a price, and that price is weight. So this vehicle weighs over 5,500 pounds, which is not terrible for an SUV this size, but the fact that the old Urus S weighed 4,800 pounds, talk about a 700 pound penalty. Now, despite that penalty, Lamborghini says this will do 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.2 or 3.3 seconds, and I'd expect it to be closer to 3 flat, considering the old vehicle was quoted at 3.4, and people were getting it just a tick over 3 seconds. So it is a little quicker, and top speed is 194 miles an hour. Now, I know it's a Lamborghini, and calling this an SUV is a stretch, but still, this is an SUV that you're gonna go almost 200 miles an hour. And you know what? I didn't even get halfway there, but I would be pretty confident, would be pretty stable at that speed. Lamborghini knows what they're doing, and all the other bits of hardware on here are definitely more supercar based than SUV based. For example, my front tires 285 millimeters wide, and my rears are 325 millimeters wide. And they're on the upgraded 23-inch wheels, which replace the stock 21s, and the tires on them are not meant for off-roading. I mean, there are drive modes, and I'll get more into the off-roading and drive modes in a little bit, but let's stick to on-road. The brakes, well, they're just 17.3 inches in diameter, and they're carbon ceramic, and they have massive calipers on them. In the rear, they're still 16.1 inches, which are more than capable of stopping the weight of this vehicle. This is an SUV that's meant for the track, and as crazy as that sounds, it's what Lamborghini was trying to accomplish. I mean, is it compromised compared to one of their road cars, the two-seaters? Well, of course. I mean, I can take 4 people in cargo, but that's the point. I can take 4 people in cargo in my Lamborghini. Well, not mine, I don't own this. I never could. But you get what I'm trying to say. This is the day-to-day, daily driver Lamborghini for super rich folk, I guess. Because of the air suspension and not the rigid one from the Performante, it's actually quite comfortable if you keep it in the Strada sort of regular mode or when you're on all EV power. You put it into Corsa, it's gonna stiffen up and it's gonna lower itself and it becomes more racy. But in the relaxed mode, I was actually surprised at how relaxed the vehicle is, especially one with such sporty pretensions and sporty bits in those crazy tires. So like I said in the intro, I'm not gonna get deep into how the Urus actually drives and how phenomenal performance is. I mean, that's been covered to death, and this is no exception. I'm really focusing on how it differs with the new SE plug-in hybrid drivetrain from the old models. But before I get into that, yes, corners are ridiculous, brakes ridiculous, the acceleration is just absolutely insane. There's so few times I ever got to really use it because you go from any speed to breaking the law in a blink of an eye. Now yesterday, there was one on-ramp where I have to stop and then accelerate so I can actually go up to freeway speeds from a dead stop, and oh man, does this haul. Have I been in EVs that are more violent and quicker? Yes. Have I been in an SUV that sounds as phenomenal while delivering that performance and such amazing road and steering feel? Not even close. Despite the fact it's hybridized and it can run just on electric power, the one thing the Urus has not lost, as no Lamborghini should ever lose, is that engine noise. Put this thing into Sport or Corsa, hammer the accelerator, and oh man, does that V8 scream out the rear. It's just so addicting, and every time you get off the accelerator, especially in Corsa mode, it pops and bangs and barks, and inside it's loud, but it's not that bad. But I also have like acoustic glass all around. If I put the windows down, I realize just how loud it is outside. It's just what every good Lamborghini should be. I mean, just listen to this, it never gets old. Just so good. Even at idle, even at 1,000 RPM, it sounds so good. So let's get back into the plug-in hybrid EV abilities of this vehicle. So the battery pack that's included is a 25.4 kilowatt hour unit, and that's obviously smaller than an electric vehicle, but it's on the larger side for a plug-in, and that's probably because this thing is a big, heavy SUV. It can recharge at speeds up to 7.2 kilowatt, so that means there's no fast charging capabilities in the Urus SE, and that's like most plug-in hybrids. Automakers usually abandon having the super fast recharge capabilities because that means you need a larger, more powerful charger on board, and that just adds to weight for the fact that if I plug this into a stage 2 at a house, for instance, I'm going to be fully charged up in 4 hours. So every night I would have my full battery back, and like a lot of EVs these days, especially performance ones, there's a button right here that I push and it'll recharge the battery as I drive. Let's go through the drive modes and the controls here in the Urus, because although this is similar to the vehicles before it, it is a lot different than a lot of other SUVs on the road. So when you start the Urus up, as long as you have battery, it will default into EV mode, which is shown here. Now you can just hit the paddle on the right and ready to drive off, or you pull this lever here and go into reverse and go backwards. Simple as that. If you want hybrid right from the start, pull the lever on the left and put it into Strada. And as you can see, it now has the H for hybrid instead of EV. And again, you're ready to go. And the gas engine will turn on when the vehicle deems it's necessary. If you want to recharge that battery while driving, you push the middle button, engine comes to life, and now you are using the engine to drive the vehicle and power the battery. And as you can see on the gauge cluster, there's a little meter showing how much recharge is happening. If you would like to use the battery and the gas engine together to get maximum performance that's available in the drive mode, push the button on the bottom and off you go. Now, if you want more sound and more performance, put it into sport mode, and now the engine's always going to be on and always give you that nice rumble, but you can't put it in hybrid anymore. Now it's either charge the battery or deplete the battery for performance. Put it in Corsa, same thing, but as you can hear, it beeped at me. exhaust gets even louder. This is an even more hardcore performance mode. Everything gets stiffer, and the exhaust never really closes up, so you always get burbles and pops and bangs and just full sound. And again, there's no hybrid, just charge the battery or deplete the battery. The next 3 modes, there's, I will say Sabia, hopefully I said that right, and this is for driving in the sand, and the vehicle will raise up a bit, and it just changes the all-wheel drive system. Again, you can't hit hybrid, you can't even hit recharge, it's just battery depletion. Go to Terra, this is more for dirt and maybe some mud and that sort of terrain. Again, it's an off-road mode that adapts the all-wheel drive system, and you can't do hybrid or battery charge, just battery depletion. The last one, Neve, I don't know Italian. It's snow. And what this does is limit power to the wheels to give you maximum traction in slippery conditions. And here it only charges the battery while on, which is interesting. That's what all the drive modes do. And like I said, this one here in the middle, pull it back, that puts you in reverse. Hit this here, that puts you in park. To go into drive, it's this paddle here, just like in their cars. If you want manual mode, you click the M here. And then when you're done, you put it in park, flip up the safety switch, and hit stop. You've heard me a few times refer to this as an SUV because that's what Lamborghini considers it. So let's take a look at sort of how its SUV capabilities are. Well, like I said, there are 3 different off-road or slippery condition drive modes, one for sand, one for dirt and trails, and one for snow. Now, as I also mentioned earlier with these tires, you're not going anywhere on those. But if you're buying an SUV that costs this much, you could probably buy a pretty cool set of secondary rims with some chunky all-terrain tires, and you know what? I think this would be pretty capable. It only has 6.2 inches of ground clearance, which is not much for an SUV, but it will raise itself up in the off-road modes, and this will definitely go places no other Lamborghini could even dream of going, so you have that advantage. I myself did not have the means to put on a second set of tires and wheels, and Lamborghini didn't want me to take me off-road anyway, so I stuck to pavement during my test drive. With the battery pack taking up a lot of the cargo area, there's now only 16 cubic feet of storage space back there compared to over 21 cubic feet in the Urus S. So you do compromise a bit there, but again, that's still more than any other Lamborghini. You're not gonna pack suitcases for an entire weekend getaway with 4 people, but for 2 people, it could happen, and for a family, you could probably take a day trip or a small little mini excursion. Perhaps the most impressive thing about its SUV capability, at least to me, is that it can tow like an SUV. In fact, it can tow better than a lot of SUVs because of its more robust, rugged platform that has to deal with all of the physical strain of the braking force and the cornering force and the power and the weight. This is rated to tow up to 7,000 pounds. And my tester has the full hitch back there ready to go, and that's kind of cool because you could tow your high-end ski boat behind your Urus on the way to your multi-million-dollar mansions. So it's win-win-win. Finishing up the SUV-ness of the Urus, it has comfortable seats up front on long trips. Like I said, 4 people fit in here, no problem. It has a 5th seat. You could put a 5th person in, but they might be a little uncomfortable. Maybe a child could go there for short periods of time. It has tons of technology, all the active safety systems you'd expect. It has ADAS, which is kind of cool because in the corner on one of my screens, I can put up that augmented reality image of my vehicle driving, especially on the freeway and what other vehicles around me are doing. That's all part of the fully customizable digital dash, and it has the integrated infotainment system. It has all the usual features like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Down in the middle here, I have a dedicated screen for climate control. And although I like physical buttons, this one isn't terrible because nothing changes, so I kind of know where on the screen I need to touch, and it's capacitive, so it gives me the feedback when I hit it. But I still wish there's more buttons, and maybe they could add more of the cool little toggle switches like the ones above. So back to my original question. Does turning the Urus Hybrid make for a better SUV? In my opinion, yeah, it does. You get all the same performance, if not a bit more, and there's still that visceral sensation of all that sound and feeling and grip and all your senses alive. Well, maybe not taste, but all the other senses alive. Yet you can drive on just electric power when the mood suits, or more importantly, when the situation dictates, like trying to crawl out of your neighborhood at 5:30 in the morning. And you can save a little bit more gas when you're not really hauling. Now, when you're in full attack mode, it's probably a little less efficient due to the extra weight, but overall, for what this vehicle is designed for, which is more of a performance yet practical vehicle, I think making it a plug-in hybrid only makes it better.